So I bought the chair that I'm sitting in right now that is kind of in this nook of my apartment with no real purpose in mind other than the fact that I thought it looked nice and that it kind of tied the space together. And I've yet to find a real purpose for it because I got a couch behind the camera over there. That's usually where I sit when I'm lounging. But tonight I got back from work and I finally determined a use for this corner, which is going to be my cozy nook for ranting or yapping or all of the above about whatever I feel like on camera, with my cozy lamp right here, a couple of my shelves visible, and a Nintendo DS on hand. So I just plan on playing a little bit, doing a bit of gaming here, and talking about what post-grad life has been like for me. So stick around if that sounds interesting to you. For those of you that are interested, I am currently playing Pokemon Ruby. I have a Game Boy Advance up on my shelf actually. I don't think you can see it from here. But the reason I'm playing on a DS is because I am currently soft resetting for shiny starters. Riveting stuff, really. And the resets are just easier on a DS, in my opinion. So this is probably the most boring and monotonous form of gaming you can do. But that's what I'm doing. So that maybe tells you a little bit about the kind of person that I am. I spent so much of my last semester of senior year especially worrying about what was going to happen after I walked the stage and after the life I had known for the past 4 years was over. And it's been kind of surreal to actually be in that stage of life for the past couple months, because it's one of those things that you spend so much time working towards and waiting for that you kind of forget that you actually have to live it as well. And the reason I was so worried and focused on it was because I didn't have a job lined up for after college for a while. The internship that I worked in for my junior summer didn't offer returns because of tough financial calls they had to make, I guess. And that was a real bummer for me. I felt like basically the only people I knew that actually had jobs lined up were people who had solid internships. And I thought I did, and didn't really result in anything. So while I did really enjoy my senior year, I did kind of feel this looming cloud of what comes next for so long. And I was really lucky in the last few weeks of the academic year that I did receive a job offer, and I took it without hesitation. And having been in the job now for about a month and a half, very happy with what I took, and don't feel like I just took the first thing that came my way without really thinking about what the job would entail. So yeah, it's just kind of weird to think about how I was so worried about that for so long, and now here I am just kind of living life. I studied data analytics and English when I was in undergrad. Data analytics because I wanted a job, and English because I really like literature and I'm a pretty good writer, I like to think. And honestly, funnily enough, I think it's the skills I learned in English classes that has actually come most in handy for my job, just because of how much communication is a key part of my day-to-day work. But it's weird because I spent so many hours my senior year writing my senior thesis in the English department. I had a concentration in creative writing, so my senior thesis was a short story collection, and I spent so much time just working on my stories and editing them and going back and forth on them with my advisor, with my peers, and I haven't really done any writing since I graduated. And I think part of that was because of a little bit of burnout, and I definitely needed some rest. But as I've settled into my new job and my new life, it's really been weighing on me that I haven't taken the initiative to do some more writing in my spare time. I think that something I always told myself was once I graduated, like, I would really see how much I cared about my so-called passions that I had in college, and even before then, and that if they really meant a lot to me, that I would continue with them. And so, while I think it's a little bit early to say I don't actually care about writing, the thought has kind of been in the back of my mind of, did I do it in school just because I was good at it, or because I could get far enough with it? Or is this actually something I'm going to pursue? I think one thing that would really help me, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, is starting a journal. I think the hardest part I've had has been, just making the time for the things I want to do. Because I wake up at around 6 and I exercise in the morning. And then I take a shower and get ready for work, and I'm out the door probably around 8 a.m. And then I get home between 5:30 and 6, and I'm just tired. I want to make food, I want to lounge around, I want to play video games, I want to watch a show, and I wish my first thought was, I'm going to do some writing, or I'm going to pop open a book, which I have been reading. I will say that. I've been reading a pretty good amount, which I'm really happy with. But I wish those were the things that my mind gravitated more towards. And at this point, they're just, feels like they're not as much. But I do think if I got in a routine of reading on the train to work, for instance, that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. I've thrifted a couple pocket-sized books to be able to carry them easier in my commute. And so thinking about taking one of those with me, maybe I'll start doing that tomorrow or something. But I think journaling is the kind of writing that right now I can really get behind, because I've had some ideas for stories I want to write and characters I want to flesh out. But I think the thought of just opening a blank Word doc right now and starting a new story is a little daunting. So maybe if I iron out some ideas on my pen and just with pen and paper, then I'll feel a little bit better about that. I really am trying not to be too hard on myself though, because as much as it feels like I'm in a routine and I've got everything figured out, or I should have everything figured out and that I should be settled, I mean, I've really only been living in my apartment right now for 2 months, and I've only been working for about a month and a half at my job. So as much as like the days start to blend together and you feel like you develop that routine, it still is pretty new and pretty fresh, everything really. I think one of the hardest things about graduating, or at least one of the biggest adjustments, has been not being as close to my closest friends in literal proximity. I lived no more than 10-minute walk away from all of my best friends in college, and now some of us are miles and miles apart from each other in different states. Shoot, I have a friend who is on the entire opposite side of the world right now. And that's crazy to think about, because we've been so close to each other for so long. And while I feel like I haven't had or suffered from loneliness in the traditional sense, I definitely don't find myself socializing nearly as much as I did in college. And that's been kind of a weird adjustment. I'd say the nature of my job is pretty social, and I interact with people on a pretty consistent basis, which is nice, and I do enjoy that. But it definitely is a different kind of socializing than just lounging around or hanging out with your friends. And that's not to say I haven't developed friends at work or developed friendships at work, but it's weird to think about the fact that now that a lot of my closest friends are not near me, that those kind of become the people I interact with most. And so as nice as my friends from work are, and as much as I enjoy hanging out with them both at work and outside of work, it's weird to kind of wrap your head around the fact that those are the people I'm closest to, really, in this city. And I've only known them for a month and a half. And they have friends that they've known here for years. So it's something I'm kind of adjusting to. And I think it's only going to get better as I establish myself more and meet new people and just get used to that. But I think it's easier said than done. One thing I'm definitely liking though, I will say, from post-grad life is that your free time, it feels like, is truly yours. Especially, I think, as a more junior employee, where you're relied upon a lot less outside of the traditional working hours. I don't come home and have to do homework or have to do readings or anything like that. I can come home and my time is mine. I can attempt to cook, I can watch TV, I can do really whatever it is I want with my time. And while the flip side of that is that you're so drained from the day that there's not a lot that you really want to do, it is nice to at least have the illusion of freedom. When you say it like that, it does sound kind of depressing though. I really don't think it's depressing. I genuinely do enjoy coming home and having the freedom to take a nap or do whatever I want, even if I am tired. So I swear I'm not being depressing or trying to be depressing. It actually is really nice. Going back to writing, I think, for a little bit, one thing I have struggled with, and I think this kind of connects to writing, is just general creative expression. I think when you're at college, or at least when I was at college, I woke up every morning and thought about the outfit I was going to put together and how I was going to present myself. And in addition to studying a very creative and expressive subject, you spend so much time thinking creatively. And while I definitely exercise creative thought at work, it's not to the same degree. And while I do still kind of dress what I like to think my own sort of expression in the workplace, you're obviously limited, and I'm not saying this in a bad way necessarily, but you are limited to what is appropriate for the work setting. You know, I can't wear cargos or a graphic tee or hoodies or whatever, any of that sort of stuff that I would more traditionally wear to work. And so I think that because I'm not expressing myself in that way as well, that I've just felt a bit of a creative rut in general. And I think maybe when I'm trying to attribute my kind of writer's block that I've been in to something, I think maybe that general creative expression that I'm not exercising on a daily basis could be a cause of that. And maybe that's just a greater reason to put together outfits even just for the sake of it, or start a journal like I'm saying. Because I have the perfect notebook. I've had this notebook and I've been saving it for the perfect occasion, and I feel like now, more than ever, is that occasion. So maybe I'll start a journal, maybe I'll document it here. I will say, I think filming videos like this or like the other ones I've made has been a good creative outlet for me. I'm not saying I'm creating anything revolutionary or even worth watching to a certain extent, but I think just being able to turn on a camera and speak openly and be able to edit and think about what music I'm going to use to make a video, that has been a form of creative expression that I've really enjoyed recently. And it's something that I'm trying to be more consistent with so that I can continue to exercise that muscle that I feel like has been lacking in my life for a little bit of time now. In terms of what my goals are with making videos, I don't really have any. I think I originally wanted to make videos just to document life on my own. This is one of the first times I've truly felt more alone. I live alone. I work with new people. I live in a city where a lot of my friends don't live. And it felt like an opportunity to sort of document my life so that maybe someday I could look back on it fondly. That was kind of the idea I had. But no real intentions of making it consistent. And I think even if just for the sake of structure and, like I said, kind of creative expression, I want to make it a little bit more consistent. I know a lot of the videos I've made so far have been football related, whether it be playing or talking about kits for over 20 minutes, but I want to do more than that. I think I want to be able to sit down and just vent like this, or I want to be able to talk about other things that matter to me or the niche subjects that I find interest in. Okay, so I'm not having a lot of luck on the shiny hunting front of things, but maybe if I show you guys this next encounter, I'll get a little bit of luck. So here we go. I've been on and off shiny hunting for Mudkip in this copy of Pokemon Ruby since I moved here, and I've yet to find it. I don't do it super consistently. I'm not the kind of person who's going to sit there and shiny hunt for hours on end every day. So I understand why I haven't found it yet, but I really want this pink fish with legs so badly right now. I did run into the shiny Poochyena that is unfortunately uncatchable in an option in this battle, which weirdly kind of excited me for a bit and got me more motivated to really focus on the hunt, but you know, that's about as far as I've gotten so far. I think the last thing that I really want to hone in on when it comes to talking about my post-grad life is circling back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this video, which is the idea that I so desperately during my senior year just wanted to have a plan. And I think it's easy to focus on what you think you could be doing better or what you are struggling with. And I think it's important to remember that because we always want to improve, right? But when you think about your goals from a couple months ago even, which for me was as simple as get a job, which I realize is not that simple of a case, especially right now. So disclaimer there. When you think about that as your goal, or when I think about that as my own goal and where I am now, I'm doing great. That doesn't mean I can't change or alter my expectations for myself, because expectations change as your circumstances change. But I think when you frame things in that way, you set yourself up to be a little happier and a little more proud of yourself. And it's important to be proud of yourself, because I think we are always capable of being proud of ourselves. All right, I've been sitting here for a little while now, in between talking, just getting these encounters out of the way, and it doesn't look like it's gonna happen tonight. So I think I'm gonna call it there. Thank you guys for listening to me. Maybe we'll try this again sometime. I enjoyed it as a sort of a different video to make, and take care. Hey, get yours and get out. Get your money.